Ba-bum-bum. All right, let me check this out. I just want to make sure that everything is running because, I don't know, I think the last time I've been live has been, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago where I did another session walkthrough. And that's what we're gonna do today. Just like a little walkthrough through one of the tracks I shared a few days ago in collaboration with Jason Boult. And yeah, it seems like everything is running. That's good. Let me minimize this. And yeah, wait 1 or 2 minutes until, because I know at least 1 or 2 people want to watch. And if you missed this one, or if you have to leave at a specific moment, then that's no problem because yeah, I'll also upload this one for YouTube. It's actually probably mainly for YouTube because I know that a lot of the people live in time zones where it's not possible to, participate right now. But yeah, what are we gonna do today? As I already said, we take a look at, 1 second, this project. Let me turn off OBS. There you go. Yeah, perfect. So it's this project, right? I think it's simple to, yeah, Adventure Time, absolutely one of the best series ever made. I still didn't watch the last season, but I don't know, huge fan also of the intro track, amazing one. But yeah, let me check this if everything is all right. So yeah, this is the project. It's one of the, it's medium size for sync stuff. It's a project I'm working on with Jason Boult. So we kind of create a proof of concept album that we then later, used to get hired for other things. Yeah, it's the 7th track, and it pretty much works all the time that Jason sends me some of his drums, and I create something based on them. I did a little bit of, volume automation with his drums, and a little bit of chopping over here and over there, but it's mainly his drums. In this track, he also sent a synthesizer. But it's like, it's an interesting approach because I have to work with drums. In general, I don't start tracks working with percussion or drums, right? It's more like you start with a chord progression, something like that. So it's huge fun, and then I create something, send it back to him. He creates something, send it back to me, and it's interesting because most of the time when I work for big game scores or stuff like that, then I work alone. I mean, I have a big communication system with the clients. I send daily updates whenever I did something. I send an update and also write down what I updated, what I did, and stuff like that. But still, it's interesting to do so. Yeah, maybe we simply start with listen to the first part of the track, and then we can get into the details. Just like mainly to take a look at all the single tracks. So if you, if I open up the MIDI editor, that's the audio stuff by Jason. There is quite a lot of stuff happening here, especially in the later parts. A lot of fast arpeggiators, and it's kind of interesting if you look at this. But yeah, we'll dive into that later. Just before I start, by the way, in Cubase you can select the tracks right in the MIDI editor, and yeah, and for example, if you want to highlight the Choirs 3 and the synth stacks, then you can go like this and also select the track, and it jumps to this track right in the project. Pretty useful, especially if you want to, find a track. But yeah, let's give it a listen and then proceed from there, just slowly but steadily. that's a track. What's important to mention is it's pre-mix. It's pre-mix, pre-master. So I just send out all the stems of the track into the mixing process. So it's just like my rough mix on the fly and a little bit of coloring mixing. But yeah, let's just, I don't know, start at the beginning, take a look at all the tracks. As I already said, I also re-uploaded to YouTube, but if some people are here right now in the live situation, feel free to ask questions if you want to know something. And beside that, let's start. I did a lot of the whole track with this instrument, Groth by Wavelet Audio. It's yeah, I don't know, a new pretty dark sounding library with a lot of breathers, wood percussion, voice sequences, like all the voice sequences you hear in the background. It's a big stack of multiple ones, but yeah, it's very powerful. And in the beginning, I start just with this single sound, and it's basically one key press plus a little bend down, as you can see over here. But then it begins to get more interesting. So attention as I play the full part. So the most obvious thing is all this vocal stuff going on. And as already said, it's done with the whispers and shouts with this plugin. So you can determine how long you want each syllable to be, like 1/4, 1/4, 1/2, 1/8, 1/8. And I did everything. I did the same thing for everything. But I have a few whispers and shouts plus one track, like the one here above, is tuned down one semitone to create this stack of that sounds like this. In addition to that, I edited one of the tracks a lot with Fury to make it even more dark. So if you look at this volume automation, like it's more shouted, but it only joins the track in specific situation to point out highlights. So these lines are the volume automations of the tracks, and this one is the shouting one that's edited with Fury. You can see it working over here. Yeah, and so it's pretty simple, right? It's just like a stack of women whispering, a stack of male of men whispering with more automation, and this highly edited one. And in the end, that joins further whispers. So that's what pretty much carries the whole, like this grungy, distorted part in the beginning. But I think that's something you hear anyway. So let's take a look at the other tracks. As always, I have a lot of volume automations working, and what I try to do here when I record something, obviously I don't do it like in the beginning with my hand, but I want to create space for other instruments. As you can see here, this highly edited growly vocals, they have the same volume automations, kind of. Not everywhere. For example, here they join a little bit earlier, but at these main time frames, it's pretty much the same thing. So it just like, you don't want to have too much stuff happening on the first, I don't know, on specific attack times. If you want to create something interesting, you should go for one interesting thing. And, or I mean, every time I say you should go, it's like, that's how I do it, right? By the way, I also automated the amount of Fury, as you can see over here. And so we have these soft vocals that are combined with one of the main carry melodic elements, the una corda piano, like here. Like only the low, super low notes. Everything is gone, and everything is gone again. And there's something I also like doing to, I cut away the whole attack time, but the piano returns in the end, like the sustain of the piano gets back to the track. It's a nice effect, just like to create a more natural swell instead of only going for a reverse transition, if you know what I mean. Then we have this low synth doing stuff in the background only at specific situations to support these high attack moments. And there you see that, for example, this instrument joins for a very short moment as soon as the other instruments are cut away. But yeah, let's continue with the tracks. We have a little bit of percussion elements, a lot of clocks in the beginning that kind of lead the track until Jason's drums join. We have some breathers. And that's a simple thing, just like this classic thing, and then 4 super fast notes of the click. So it's a mix of pre-made clock loops that you can edit really good, actually. It's the same library, and they become a little bit more in this part. Like there are more clocks, and then we have more effects joining the track. There you go, right? And that's what's happening there. Then we have a high synth. It's becomes more important in the later part, because here is this part where this weird stack of big synthesizers does this big sound stack, but we'll go to that later. Let's begin with the first part, or continue with the first part, because in addition to these voices and the grungy vocals, we have a cello. It joins the piano. We have some solo vox that do some stuff over here. Also groth. And there I did something I also do pretty often. I again controlled the sustain, decay and attack of the instrument. So it starts right here before the volume automation kicks in, because I didn't want to have the attack time for this whole feeling I'm trying to create. There I go into the attack time, cut it away and let it reappear. If we solo this specific MIDI track, you can listen to it like solo. 1 second, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's like it's a little bit fluttering, wavy, because the whole track doesn't feel too natural, and so that was exactly what I was aiming for. Everything here's like way more stuff for later. We have the bass, of course, very simple. A little bit offbeat to the click tracks. It's like it's more, it's not on the ones, so it's more like it kind of triplet or something. But super simple. It's an 808-ish thing created with I think Alex Apton, right? I use this specific bass very, very, very often. Let's take away the cello again, because it's without the stuff in the background, it's pretty noisy. But just as a reminder, in general, we also have all these vocals going on in the background. Right, and we don't have the drums yet, right? But let's keep them away, and the cello also, and also focus on, so you have a better idea of the single elements. We have some throat singing, and there, same thing. It follows volume automations. Gone. And when I have these cutaways, like in the other tracks, then often the breathers, like they react to, like it's build up in tension, a little bit of relief, build up in tension again, and that's how I wanted to start the track before this intense big stack of synths like crashes in the mid part. We have some orchestral FX. It's very subtle. You can only hear it in the mid end of the track. I'm not sure if you hear it good enough, if because of the how good the quality is. But let's take a look. And again, I cut it away. It's not a fault. It's how I handle volume automations. We have more vocal stuff. This is an interesting group at all. So let's just take these things because there's a lot of vocal stuff going on. I think I did it with Mysteria by Native Instruments, where you can shift around the sound a lot, and it has very interesting effect on the track. So let's only listen to these things combined because it makes a lot with the track, like waving in the background. Let's take away the other. It's okay. All right, we should just solo these. So it's just in the background. I cut away. It's one group. I cut away the whole low end, so it's just like bringing some motion, because the other tracks are highly edited. Like it's a lot of very harsh volume automation, and it's just because here they take over all the time. It's the whole thing that leads to the whole first part of the track, combined with Jason's drums, sure. Yeah, and this effect it's just like a send to a reverse effect. The drums in reverse, you can see that they only act over here, like at this specific part. Yeah, and then we are actually already at the big part. We have, I mean, this one is also pretty interesting. We have some percussion and transitional FX for the big part in the beginning. Hey! And some weird shouts, it seems like. So it doesn't make sense if you listen to it standalone, but yeah, if you listen to it combined with the whole track, then it makes sense. It should never be your goal to make one specific instrument sound good soloed if it's not playing a solo. You know what I mean? So, and yeah, we have, in this part, we also have this transitional signature sound again. Some bends. And there again. It's a combination of the pitch wheel and this volume automation that makes it sound like this. So if you turn off read, it sounds different already. It sounds intense, but it doesn't follow the sense of the track anymore. And here you can see that the pitch wheel is like it goes up and then it goes down again. And this key over here determines the main key of the sound. And that's pretty much it in the beginning. So let's get to the more interesting part, the second one, where it gets intense. So it should be a little bit louder now. So attention. So in this part, we of course have the piano again. Let's solo this one in the beginning because it's the easiest to start with. And in addition to that, we have these synthesizers. Some cymbals, of course, just like... They always use damage 2 symbolism. It's like an awesome preset for cymbals. and it's so easy to make them, I don't know, sound bigger in the room, closer, because I don't know if you don't know Damage. Have a Yosity instrument. I'm a huge fan. Just like you have everything on key, and you can edit every single note so good. It's so easy to do some fast sound design just in the plugin, and that's something I totally love. So we have the cymbals, and we have the first synthesizer done with the Unity nostalgic synths. You will notice when you listen to the whole thing that it seems like everything is moving up and down at the same time. And just like a bunch of them move down in direction, and a bunch of them has an upwards pitch, right? Yo, Eva, nice to meet you. And so that's the main goal, to create a weird situation. Let's listen to it not soloed one more time, and then we go into the details. Part. So let's go. We have the first synthesizer over here. It's a band combined with a volume automation, and it's panned to the left. Also, we have Fury going on with a lot of drive. No gate. I often use the gate here to create interesting sounds, and it's just like one of my favorite distortion tools. So it's this one combined with Fury and this equalizer setting. Just like... Oh, the drums. Yo, thank you. The drums are by Jason Boult. It's a collaboration track with him. So it's not synthetic. There are some VSTs, but it's mainly Jason Boult's drums. So it's a track we kind of did together. He sent me the drums, and then I built something around it. Then we have the second synthesizer. It should also be a Unity synthesizer. It's also a nice one. You have good control over the ADSR curves. Can switch around the effects over here. Can go into the shape. And yeah, I did a lot of sound design. I also wrote a demo track for this instrument, I guess. So now we have these two designed. Also, almost the same equalizing, a bit more in the mids. Again, we have the Fury tool with the same amount of... So it's just like a higher pitched version of this thing, but and with the same mod wheel direction, like with the same pitch direction. The track, that's how we work together. I mean, this track existed like in a rougher version. It was something I sent to him. But the other 6 tracks we did together, it was always like he sent me some drums, and then I began working on it. Just like, I don't know, I tried to get inspired by his drums. Then I created, I don't know, a rough chord thing. I did some sound design, sent it to him. Then he changed the drummers a little bit. I continued working, and then it was back and forth. And now we have 7 tracks that are done. And as already said, this one is pre-mastering, pre-mixing. It's just like we are still working on that one. So we have another synth. So yeah, let's do this a little bit faster because it's hard for the ears. I know it's probably interesting to see that it's not only like one preset, but still it's hard for the ears to listen to all these synthesizers. I mean, the synthesizer, you get the idea, right? It's a lot of octave synthesizers. Some of them bend down, some of them bend up. We have different equalizer settings to cover all the, I don't know, all the frequencies. It's a hard pan left right situation, and so all of them combined sound like this. A lot of pitch wheel. Yeah, so let's get rid of them. We don't need them anymore. Because there's other stuff happening that I don't know, makes it. I remember that I began working on this. I wanted to have this big impactful situation after the weird, not so musical intro of the track. And then I began recording the synthesizer. But then something was missing, so I added more stuff. We have these Orchestra FX, for example, that joined the situation. It's only at this specific point. I know that in the beginning I had it over here and over there too, just like with different stuff happening. But often after, I think I talked about that a bunch of times. When I do a creative session, I get some distance to the track and then I get into a thinning out session. I always wonder, does this specific sound, this instrument really have a purpose if I also play it over here? And then often it's like, no, it hasn't. Like everything that you see over here, the choirs and stuff, they play through the whole track in the beginning. So, and here you can see that too, like when the automations are there, but there's nothing left playing. So we have this orchestral FX that is also doing stuff later, but we aren't there yet. We have a little bit of percussion, like only a high-pitched percussion thing that it's nothing special, not relevant. We have these shouts that I already showed you, like this stack of instruments that sound awful if you listen to them soloed, but yeah. Yeah. So it's just like to support the whole thing, right? Because we have these big sustained sounds like doop, and you have to bring in some rhythm on the musical layer too, not only let the drums do the job. We also have a cello and some bass. Again, volume automations. Hard volume automations. A big distortion thing, and again, it has to sound, it doesn't have to sound good when you play it solo. It only has to sound good when you play it combined with other things, because that's the purpose of the instrument. Every instrument that's not the lead synthesizers in this part is only a support for these synthesizers, because they are the interesting thing in this specific part. So also what's happening over here, it's only a support. Some whispers, voices, all done with highly automated Mysteria, where you can, I don't know, also have awesome sound design possibilities if you don't want to stick to the presets all the time. Then we have Jay's drums. He will re-record them, but still, I imagine that, I don't know, we have this part in the beginning, and then this part is where the first time he fully plays. So it's very choppy in the beginning because it's such an impactful situation, and it's just like just like, and here, as already said, we have the reverse effect, but there's more stuff going on. We have this synthesizer that also plays together with this big stack, like the super high one. We also have these clocks and stuff like that doing things, again, supporting Jay. And of course, we also have these vocals. And we have this low bass FX that also only do stuff at these short moments. Like also, as you can see, with a big pitch bend all the time that solo it. It's such a nice sound. I love that. Then with the sound again, that's sometimes it's audio, by the way, because then I render in place the MIDI file to edit it even more in this editor, right? Sometimes you have way more possibilities if you, I don't know, want to manipulate the audio file and not only the MIDI file. And yeah, that's a transition to the next part, like the big synthesizer part. Nice to meet you. So let's give it a listen. Just like we can go from this full synthesizer part and then right into the next more calmed down melodic part the first time, because the plan was we start really, I don't know, weird sound stuff like that, then these big synthesizer walls with the bands and stuff, and then suddenly it becomes very, very melodic, right? So that's at least for my ears it was interesting. So let's go from the start over these two parts into the transition and then into the details of this more melodic part. Sorry, I messed this up. By the way, what I forgot, for example, here is one instrument that only does something at this specific part. Maybe you listen to it in the background, like the super high 8-bits thingy that's dancing around in the background to support the big sustain hits. It's not even played, recorded in a good way, but I liked it. And of course, we also have a little triangle over here. I like that. And we have more vocal stuff that I used to, in the second repetition, I used it to, I don't know, add an additional organic layer to these fully synthetic synthesizers. Sounds creepy as fuck if you listen to it soloed. And yeah, then we come to the final part. Yeah, that's a classic transition, a little stutter, and then one high transition sound to lead into the next part. I always like that, and it's a transition, it's a repetition of the intro of the track, but this time more melodic with these acoustic guitars I added over here and some other stuff going on. But yeah, this middle part is pretty simple. We have we have the drums, sure. Or let's mute them for now, or no. We have the synthesizer. That's one thing that Jace also sent to me, so that's not by me. He sent it as an idea and it was awesome. We have this whole part that this whole section working again in the background to create some further movements and stuff like that. But we already listened to them often enough. Then we have this shout transition that, does a pretty simple job, combined with, I think, the bass drop or something. Oh no, it's only a high synthesizer to make the transition a little bit more interesting. And yeah, that's, also by Groth. Pretty nice one. It's like it's a very impactful sound. You don't need to do much if you with this library. It's pretty badass. Then we have the choirs, but they are in a group down here, and we could turn off read to listen to what they actually do, but they don't do much in the track. I only want to support specific moments again with the more natural instrument, like voices, stuff like that. So yeah, as already said, it only does stuff in the end of the track. That's why it sounds so weird if you solo it that way. Because if you listen to it without stuff soloed. There was. So you still won't be able to really figure it out as a lead instrument, but that's what, because I began recording this choir, and I don't know, I was like, it's pretty nice. Let me finish this a little bit, but then it in the end it had to become a support instrument for this lead synthesizer, not a lead instrument. So that was important for that part. But let's take a listen to the other support instruments, because besides that we also have some pads doing stuff in the background. Except for besides the obvious lead stuff. So like these. This Lunaris, nice. And some bass again with I actually like this library a lot. Kinetic Toys has such awesome sounds, and also I think the sound design possibilities, like you have to move this thing here and move this one, is a little bit weird because I never know what's actually happening. But it's like, yeah, you get the idea of that. In addition to that, we also have the una corda piano. By the way, a beautiful piano. Like it's just like. Such a nice. Yeah, I really like that sound. Of course, it's the low end is gone, and so. And by the way, yeah, you can for sure ask. Sure. If you have a question, it doesn't have to be track related. There are rare moments where I have time to talk about stuff, and right now is one of these moments. And as already said, I'll upload this one to YouTube anyway. Let's keep the piano away because it's very obvious in the track, because it's the only fast attack instrument. So everything else that's happening besides the obvious arpeggios and stuff like that is very sustainy. It's like a lot of movement, right? Also these tracks we listen to here in the bottom, everything is just like so, yeah, moving. With the whispers and stuff. So, and also the solo vocals, right? They don't sound that good solo. They're way better solo choirs. But I liked how it sounded combined with everything else. That's why I used it. Not because it's the best solo library I own. If you listen to it, let's start from over here, so it's not out of. Actually, the transition doesn't sound too bad. it's actually okay as a support instrument. I wouldn't use it as a solo instrument. I would always hire vocalists, but it's actually pretty nice. I think it's also Groth. Yeah, it is. Yeah, both Wise and F mod. It's super similar actually, and often I also work directly in the Unreal Engine, for example. There you work with blueprints a lot, and it's also so I can't code or something like that, but it's also if you take a look at it, then you understand pretty quick and can, I don't know, make use of it. We also have this male vocals we already listened to in the beginning. And here I did something, the male vocal comes back at the end of this main part with this classic like whoop whoop thing, and then it's away, and then it's there again. I announced it already, so it doesn't appear out of nothing. It appears in the beginning of the track when everything is more weird and calmed down, and then it comes back, and then it has a more leading part. so here we have even more synthesizers with some kind of heavy volume automations. And this instrument doesn't add up to this nice soft sound anymore. This instrument only makes sense if you also listen to the arpeggio synthesizers, right? Because so it's just like, what the fuck, that's annoying. But combined with everything else, it makes sense. As always, in my head at least. So, and then we have these synthesizers that join a little bit later as a harmony to the lead synthesizer. And I think it sounds so nice combined with the lead synthesizer if they merge in. So we can go to the mid part with the guitars a little bit later, but because the final part is basically the first, I don't know, arpeggio synthesizer thing with a little bit of extras. For example, this bass thing. There I kept away the first note because I didn't need it there, because you can see that a lot of other stuff is happening here. And I think it has some really useful transitions, this whole track. We have the vocals again, so everything the same, but we have the guitar joints at a later part. We have this, I think, this additional synthesizer that joins Jason's. Oh, and one important thing in the end, like the big bandy band synthesizers, like this one. Sounds horrible standalone, especially because of this hard fury thing. But I think combined with everything else, it creates such an interesting feeling if you. But yeah, let's get back to the main part. So this part. It's a pretty simple one. We have these vocals again. Like the big female shouts, the males tuned down shouts, plus the classic, but we don't need them because it's pretty easy to hear them. We have the male vocals again. Again, cut downs for the attacks. Support the other instruments. And the guitars, I think it should be picked acoustic or Fink. Yeah, it's Fink. Is it all by Fink? Because I use, and picked acoustic. I use that a lot just to both libraries are very nice. And they kind of repeat the arpeggiator that joined in the end of the mid part. So they continue what was happening there, what I was introducing in the last part of this thing. By the way, let me get back to the question, sorry. Major tip you have when working with Wise is like experiment as much as possible. There aren't like super secret things you should do, but I was always, when I was analyzing soundtrack scores and stuff like that, I was always trying to, I don't know, do the same thing in Wise to understand how you could do that, because you can only be this creative. Like you can only be that as creative as much stuff as you know, obviously. So you can only have awesome ideas for adaptive motives and stuff like that if you have an idea that that's actually possible. But I think that's one of the boring answers, that it just takes time and a lot of experiments and just like a lot of no budget projects with other students to get some practice. And it's probably not the happiest. I continue with this part in a minute. So probably not the most awesome answer. But I studied music production too. And after that, I mean, I was working on, I don't know, a lot of no budget projects during that time too, because I started to reach out to persons and stuff like that. But I think after my studies, it took me at least another 4 years or so until I was able to switch to full time, and that was quite good, right? It was just like, so after school, it took me 7 years until I was able to switch to full time. But I would not say, so if you only go to university and don't do stuff besides that, don't invest more time after that, don't get your practice, don't analyze soundtracks, don't build connections and stuff like that, then a university is nothing. But it can be helpful because you can learn stuff there, of course. But there were some people who went there and they were kind of expecting, because some universities promise it that way, like, yeah, you have to go here and then you are in the business. And that's sadly not the case. There's no guaranteed way or no guaranteed thing that you can do and then you get into the business. It just takes time. It takes time until I said, it took me 7 years after school, but after 4 years after school, I wasn't that good. I was good, but I wasn't as good as that it would make sense that people pay me that much that I could make a living from it, right? So it just, I don't know. Sorry, hydration. Um, Learning sources. I don't know. I was cool with one of my game dev clients. We worked on a game for 2 years, and I did a lot of stuff for him. So he had a super small budget, and I had already some bigger number jobs during that time. And I still didn't stop working with him because we kind of became friends, right? And it also is always kind of an investment into the future, because a lot of the people I work with, and when they didn't have a budget yet, returned a few years later because they remembered, yeah, this person was cool. He was passionate. He wanted to learn with us together. And so he showed me. So we I don't know, took a weekend, a day or two, and then he showed me, and then I had a basement of knowledge that I was able to use. A foundation or something like that, to go from there and experiment again. Certifications? No, I have a bachelor in music production. And a diploma as a sound engineer, but it's a alleged honors thing, a alleged bachelor honors thesis. I wrote my honors thesis about the roles and function of game music. That was awesome, because I had to deep dive into what game music actually can do. But besides that, you paid a lot of money. I had to take a loan, and they had this promise, like, yeah, do our bachelor, and then our studies only spend 20K USD and 3 years of your life. And so a lot of people only did this. I was awake at the nights working on the student projects that didn't have anything to do with the university, right? So I think none of my clients knows that I have a honors degree of music production, because nobody cares. They know that I have knowledge, but hey, for example, like a degree for Wise, so no game dev cares about this degree. But if it helps you to become more awesome in controlling Wise, then it's useful for you. I mean, I was always the way I learned the piano. I was always pretty good in just testing stuff and doing it on my own. But that's not a must-have. There are people who are way better than me in learning stuff by getting taught by other people, right? I did school really good, but I hated it. Game music. I probably know. In what town? I was in Cologne, I guess. I can't. Maybe it's another one. So maybe it's not the one I'll go. Yeah, it's a nice location. I've been there a bunch of times. But yeah, it's worth to just experiment. That's basically my whole career. I tested stuff. When I first opened, I told that story quite a lot of times. When I first opened, like a synthesizer like this, I had no idea what the fuck I was looking at. And when I was younger, there weren't YouTube tutorials for everything. So I don't know. So I turned some knobs, played a note. Like if you, oh, that's not a. Turn some knobs, played a note. Where's this instrument? Come on, it can't be. I sorted this track. It's in other place. There you go. It's everything I did all the time, just like pressing some knobs and trying to see what happens if I press something. Yeah, sure, absolutely. That's the thing. So I did, for example, music theory. I wasn't that good in music theory, but I always did music theory stuff. I did a lot of modulation through keys and stuff like that. Interesting, broken up chords, but I had different names for these things. And then I learned music theory like a few years ago. I was like, yeah, let's take a look at that. And then it always felt like, oh, that's what I'm doing over there. That's the thing. And so it's just like, I don't know, just about experimenting, having fun. and trying to keep passionate about the whole thing. So here we have this weird transition into the next part. I really like that because it feels a little bit like gnarly when we get there, with I think this orchestral sound and also the cello. And the clocks join again. Like it's also a repetition of the first part, but then it I don't know, does some other things too, like effects again, cymbals, of course. Here are the synthesizer stacks again from the beginning, but a little bit different and less of them because we have the new melodic instruments and the bass and stuff. And so in the beginning I copy pasted the first chorus, but you can see the volume automations are pretty different. Here they are the same. Here they are also different to the other ones because in this part I wanted to highlight different parts of the track. Let me check. Thank you. Yeah, it was funny because actually he visited me, I think, 4 months earlier, and we did the whole day, and then he was like on his way home to Berlin, and so there was a TV team over here, like a pretty big YouTube channel in Germany. It was like a day with a composer for game music. And they visited me. We shoot the whole day. I was working and stuff, and I had to actually work on the day, so it was pretty intense because there was a camera around me all the time, and it was a tough day. And then he was on his way home, and he was like, "Yeah, fuck, my SD card was robbed. Like somebody took my SD card and the cameras, and it sounded like the worst excuse I ever listened to." It was like, "What the fuck? What the fuck are you talking about?" And so to me, it felt like he didn't like it or whatever, and was like trying to lie to me. But then he returned 6 weeks later or so. We did the whole thing again, another work day, for different stuff, and so I had 2 days with him. It was super nice, but it was like, what the fuck? I never do that again. It's especially not if you have a busy day. You don't want to have, you don't want to have people around you. But it was, I think it was 2 years ago or so. And since then, it pretty much went exactly as I wanted it to happen. So every year, the amount of work, the amount of super interesting work and stuff like that, and also the income, it doubled. Everything became bigger, slowly but steadily. Like from the first day on, when I started doing this, I mean, there were a lot of downfalls and hurdles, stuff like that. But it just, I don't know, And the most important thing is that I became a little bit calmer. When I remember like 6 or 7 years ago, I had so many nights where I was just laying around sleepless, kind of think like, what the fuck am I trying to do? What am I doing here? That was when I wrote my first, I think when I was working for my very first game soundtrack, I was working on Gilded Shadows. And there I already did the same thing. If you look at this, it's just like I already wrote it. It's like 9 years. Oh, it wasn't the first one. I was working for obviously some student games. For a lot of them, like dozens, but they never were released. It was only for practice because I noticed, I have a lot of knowledge. I should be the best game composer that exists. But then, then I noticed, oh fuck! If you try to actually do what you think you have in mind, you suck. I tried to implement like 12 motives at the same time. I wanted to have everything dynamic, and I had to learn so much. But so after a few years, I think 1 year after I did my honors degree, this was the first bigger paid game project, or the first well-paid game project with a good price per minute of music. And it meant so much to me because that time I felt like, yeah, fuck, somebody wants to pay me for making music. I felt like a composer the first time. It's a long time ago. I think 8 years, 7, 9, I don't know. I don't remember. But yeah, that's what I still do today. I write down what I have in mind. I explain the instruments I want to use and why I want to use these instruments, what they are connected to. If you look at more modern, I don't want to have to do this on my lower screen. I don't want to accidentally. There you go. Concepts before actually starting to produce stuff is really the most important thing. I talk about that on a lot all the time, but it's just so important to write down. It's not that beautiful anymore, but it's the same thing because I edited a lot of stuff. So on this game, I'm working on this game since 6 months now, and I always change it. When stuff changes, then I change it. Same thing for this one, for example. So we already are 6 tracks in and all the layers and stuff like that. I always update everything. So here we have different versions of the tracks. And every time I upload such things like new versions, stuff like that, I also update the concept. Here's the first concept, the main structure, how we handle battle music. There I got rid of this idea, for example. Relief, piano, the main instrumentation, merged with manipulated organic instrument strings that are bound to specific locations, main organic sound, blah, blah, blah. And then we have a unique boss synthesizer that's more bound, or the piano, more true, natural, because there are more woods in these areas and stuff like that. I always think about why do I want to do this or that, these things. And then I keep track of what I'm doing. I have these tracks done already. I have to do more stuff later. And we take notes. So I write down everything. Or if you look at this, for example, that's one of my earlier soundtracks. I think I began working on that one 5 years ago. We have everything. Like here, snappy background, secret boss synthesizer. So we make sure to use it everywhere. What's the intensity? Where is it used? What's the naming in the Unreal Engine? The towns, bosses, unique enemies, ambient, mentoring. Oh, that's where I used to do one-on-one mentoring during that time, but I don't have time for that anymore. But it was fun. Or for example here, Overworld, Phase 0, Phase 4. Has no keys, 1 key, 2 keys, 3 keys, 4 keys. So we made the Overworld theme where it's not that hectic, like super simple. When you progressed in each main Overworld hub, a few instruments joined. But every time you did so when you progressed to phase 1 in World 1, the same instrument joined to the unique Overworld music of this area as in World 2. So different tracks, but the same instrument joins. So the player remembers like, oh wait, something is happening. So it shouldn't be like an active moment of realizing something, but the subconscious mind. It's very, very, very often about the subconscious mind. You don't want to make the player realize stuff, but you want to make the music do stuff in the subconscious mind, in the background. No, I don't have that much tutorial videos and stuff like that. I don't have time for that. I mean, I have my Instagram channel running, because that's an awesome source for a lot of super interesting game music jobs came from there. But it's luckily also not my only one, right? So I have some reach there, and I try to do my stuff over there, and it also became a fun thing. But I would be scared as fuck if Instagram would be my only source of, I don't know, people seeing me. My main thing always was like that I try to be, I don't know, just to try to be at as many places as possible. Only in the internet. I was way too shy for doing stuff in real life. I think I told that story, but I do so many stories, so I tell it again. That I tried to go to Gamescom, I think in 2011 or 12, and was like, yeah, I go there, and then I'll meet some game developers, and I reach out to them. And then I was standing there realizing I'm not the kind of person who can walk up to people, talk to them, and just create a natural situation where you are talking and then being like, yeah, here, take my card. So luckily, I spent my whole teenager years and a big part of my childhood in the internet already anyway. So it was like, yeah, let's go back to this place that I'm familiar with. Go to forums. I like forums were big back then. You don't have that anymore now. I think the closest thing would be Reddit or something. But yeah, and Facebook and stuff like that. There still is one Facebook group where I still share something of my work, where I also describe what I was doing to showcase knowledge. You don't only want to showcase your music, because when you showcase good sounding music, people don't care. Music libraries and AI or stuff like that can do that too. What matters is your knowledge about what you can do with a game. That's the USP. But and yeah, so every Saturday since I think 7 years or 8 years, there are still like 100,000 people or so, but not close to as many as it was like a long time ago. But I still do that every Saturday. I post in that group, write some words about what I'm working on, what my thoughts were and stuff like that. I don't need to do that anymore in the moment, because right now I don't need to actively search for jobs anymore. People contact me and I can pick, I can choose. That's the most awesome thing you can earn yourself. It's not about awesome. I didn't know this one was... did you hear that too? What the fuck? It's not about expensive gear and stuff. I mean, expensive gear is awesome, but it's... Why? It's not... it controls, it's a MIDI controller right now and does something with these. I have to listen to these again, by the way. I think I need these sounds for another project. Yeah, for sure. One second, I have to do that. I know that it's not, okay, it's not visible. Yeah, it's the most awesome thing, absolutely. That's something I was able to begin doing with a I don't know, with a good feeling, like, I don't know, 4 years ago, maybe, yeah, I think, maybe 4 or maybe... I think 4 years ago. Before that, I always felt like, okay, I have to do everything. Maybe 3 years ago. I think 4 years ago, I was still doing everything, just in case, because you never know. But then you get older and you notice, well, I can't work 16 hours each day. That's not life. Even if it's huge fun, I don't know, it's like the classic thing that positive stress is huge stress for the body too. I think I'll just do it. Green again. Import from NE05.